Peace, fam. Peace. Good morning, grand rising. Good day. Islam. Shalom. Namaste. Ashe. Me and my big boy out here. We over here. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say that. We're over here at the future. MSTA 2028. Right there behind me. Coming soon. All this good land right here. Yeah. It's a project right here. Me and the king gonna be working on real soon. Me and Big Boy, we like to come over here. Nobody even comes over here. We're like the only ones for years. Nobody just walks over here, brings their dogs over here, none of that. Anyway, I was having a thought that I wanted to share, and I want to start sharing. And not that I want to, because really I don't personally like to be seen all that much. I don't like to create scenes. I don't like a lot of attention and all that. I'm just that type of person. Even though, from what I've heard over the years, there's plenty of people that want to give me some attention for what I know and what I can do. But it's difficult not liking to deal with a lot of people, because with the skills that I have, if I'd like to deal with a lot of people, I could have $50 million easy on any day. Really, I had a couple people tell me that, and it's tempting, but I'm just like, I don't give a damn. I like my peace and solitude, and I like to experience that as much as I can, man. However, uh, me and my uncle was talking about how, you know, still to this day, there's some people who can't even read and write all that well, and you yourself may be the only Bible or Quran or Gita that they'll ever read. So for those of us who feel that we are um, true leaders or pure in heart and in spirit, you want to just show your presence, your face, and give um, from that part that Allah has blessed you with. So I wanted to talk just about thought I had about um, sex, and um, we enjoy it. A lot of us enjoy it. I think a little bit too much, to the point where it becomes distorted, and it starts being used for other means. One thing that I've learned from the I Ching, which is spelled I hyphen Ching, which back in the day was pronounced the Yi Jing. It's a 5,000 plus year old oracle that's based on a system of 64 hexagrams. And it was used in ancient Manchuria, China. And it was required reading and required practice for government officials and aspiring government officials, because they wanted to make sure, uh, that you're pure in heart and that they have good people running the government. So in the I Ching, it one of the things that it counsels is to not have sex for self-worth. You know, like I'll give you as a man, I'll just give you an example that things that men go through, or one of the things, like you might have a woman, and she may love you or respond to you, or give you a certain courtesy, just her overall way of being around you that another brother might notice. And you know he want a woman to respond to him like that too. He want to feel like he on that level too. He want her to respond in that same way. So he will seek her out and put himself in her path so as to attract her, and try to have sex with her. And it's not that he even gives a damn about her. He doesn't give two shits, probably. He just wants to uh, be perceived on that same level. And never underestimate the power of attention that people get from people, places, things, because you never know what's on a person's mind and what's affecting them in any moment. And that's a real deep thing to consider. Just especially in light of what's been going on with my family on both sides, and the things that the ancestors have been reaching out to me about and allowing me to uncover. Learning about the family ways, family thoughts, family movements, and why they've made those moves, and the danger of pretty much just living a lie, and you're living a lie if you're covering up things for years, that you don't want to come to the light or to the surface, that you really have no remorse for or any intention of atonement. you know Not that everything always has to come out to the light. Some shit, it's like, yo, just don't say nothing about that. Just do the best you can and show the creator that you really do mean business when it comes to atonement. And you'll serve that karma. you know I just recently found out about a brother of mine that I was locked up with. And yeah, I was locked up. I did fed time. um you know he was supposedly, he was, I mean, this is just awful. Because a year ago, right before I was ousted out of a home illegally, which I'm getting back at them right now for that, because it was I couldn't figure out what it was that they had done then. And I was drinking a lot, 24/7. I was drinking Natty Daddies, and I'm talking about I'll wake up, you know, I'm I've always been spiritual, I guess you can say that. So I always wake up during what they call the witching hours, between 3 and 6, without fail. I'm always up. I'll get up then and, you know, drink me 2 or 3 of them. You feel me? Get my little buzz, go right back to sleep, and as soon as I wake up, drinking again. So it was literally like I only had a few functioning hours of the day, really, and still doing legal work for myself, other people, and getting paid and all that. So right before I was ousted and had to go live in a tent in the woods, pretty much the summer and the beginning of the winter, um, one of my brothers that I was locked up with, he had reached out to me, and he was saying that his family, or wife's family rather, was trying to put sexual contact on him. You know, a child younger than 13 years old, and I just happened to be look. I was thinking about him just out of nowhere, and looked up his page because I had not spoke to him in a year. I was supposed to be helping him, and then right after he explained to me his situation, I got bumped. So it was hard situation for me to deal with, and me and him just lost contact. I got bumped on the 12th. On the 17th, he got locked up in Florida for sexual charges. And from what I've been able to intuit about the situation, he actually didn't do what they charged him for, but the Gungun let me know that they don't make any mistakes when it comes to stuff like that. So it don't matter what they charge him with. There are layers of things that have been uncovered. Um, a pattern of indecencies, they told me, that he needed to serve karma for. And some of the family members may have figured out, that other things were going on, and they couldn't touch him for it because they couldn't they couldn't compile enough evidence or whatnot. So they went ahead and dragged him. And I just started thinking, just about the whole sexual game and attention. And like I said, you never know what's on a person's mind, man, and what fix they may need to solve in their life that is causing them to do some straight unruly shit. It's like a lot of things I just don't understand. However, I am understanding that for some of us, we're gonna have to really get a grip on that, and it starts with holy separation, righteous separation. Retreat, so you can purify yourself. Of all those negative thoughts, energies, or emotions, and that's what you need to be asking for the Creator's help with, and the Agungun, the ancestor, so that over time, as you're separating yourself and releasing yourself from all these negative influences, you're cutting those cords, because those cords that connect you to these situations and these people and preferences, they build up. The strength of the cords build up over time and through proximity. So first, you have to. It's just like any drug program or Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to be in an environment where you're removing yourself from you know what it is that you're doing and the people you're doing it with, because those cords are thick, man, and some of those cords just can't be cut in one slice. You feel me? You got to cut at it and cut at it and cut at it. So I just wanted to leave that word right there, man, and because me myself, I'm realizing that uh, sex for me, it used to be attached to self-worth, you know, and nobody should be doing that, you know, especially a grown ass man. You simping up just because you want the p word. It's like, come on, man. I constantly watch women on that succubus shit, just snatching these dudes up, man. Sometimes I'll just sit at the store and just watch people, me and Cosmo, and I'll see situations unfold and develop, and I'll be looking at dude like, man, you have no idea what's coming. And I've gotten so sick and tired of the manipulations and the games and the whole man versus woman war that seemingly we're in now, to the point where I just started asking the goon goon for help to relieve me of just the whole sexual impulse, or not the whole sexual impulse, because sexual energy and creative energy are on the same vein. So you don't want to totally relieve yourself of that, because it is a righteous energy. It's just, the whole distortive quality of it. We're being distorted by or our perceptions are being distorted to the point where it's causing us to just basically lack overall emotional intelligence and emotional control. You got a lot of people trying to use sex to fill a particular void, but if you real with yourself, then you'll check yourself mentally and spiritually, so that you can grow. That's if you're actually interested in growing, because man, a lot of people nowadays, they're not truly interested in growing. They're just serving an image, and they're still not too far removed from their 10-year-old selves. Because if you watch people closely, and I just learned this through a basic study of psychology, you watch people closely, what you're looking at is a product of their 7 to 10-year-old self, and the things that were allowed by either parents or older people who had influence and position in their lives. They allowed them to cope with situations in certain ways that may have not been altogether productive. So now, you see them as grown men and grown women pretty much acting in ways that, you know, those people over them allowed them to do. And, we have to really dig into that within ourselves and look back at what we were allowed to do and allowed to see and experience, so that we could do the knowledge to how it affects us to this day. And like I said, I've gotten so sick and tired of the man woman war, excuse me, to the point where I started asking the creator and the goon goon to help relieve me of um, certain perceptions that I have around my own sexual impulse. Oh, I gotta fuck. I need some pee. But it's like, nah. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this, because one of the hardest things to do is to say and be non-sexual in a way that serves your purpose, so that you can serve others, and we can all grow together. Not all, like everybody. I mean, your actual, kinfolk, your family, your tribe. And you're not gonna do that if you don't see the value in your tribe, in your mission, in the scale. So, that's just one of the things that me personally I'm working on in life, just being used to, not having sex, not having a woman around, not because I'm broke or anything or nothing like that. Has nothing to do with that because I'm not what I used to look like, but I'm far from ugly. And women actually approach me sometimes, talk to me, you know, put themselves around me wherever I'm at. That's why I don't I don't like to go out too much because I just don't um, I don't like a lot of attention. I don't demand a lot of attention. I ain't one of them dudes. I'm secure and confident with who I am and just being by myself. You see what I'm doing now? Like this is me on the regular. If you ask anybody I know, even my brother I live with, he'll tell you. It's like, nah, that's him for real. You know, not I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm wanting to follow my spiritual impulses and what my ancestors are demanding of myself according to the time right now. Because what's wanted and needed is a lot greater than my own personal desire for attention from women and sex. And it takes a while to really, get over that stuff, you know. And I know I went to it in extremes earlier in my conversation about, certain situations, but that's just what I'm thinking about on my mind, what I'm going through as it relates to other people and situations and just, that thing with my brother that I was explaining earlier about him being locked up and everything. Whew. It's just, you know, and the reason I brought that up is because it goes back to the image and the attention thing, man. Because this dude, man, he went to school. I mean, started a good business. I always saw him as being, like a big brother to me, somebody I could look up to whenever I'm feeling weak, lazy, or whatever. I could look at him and be like, okay, yeah, look at what he do. He don't stop. You feel me? But he was wearing, however, he was wearing a mask, and man, that's just the journey, the part of the journey that I'm on now. It's like, yo, make sure you don't have a mask. You make sure that everything that people are seeing from you and hearing from you is the real. You feel me? Fuck that mask shit because it's like, yo, either you know God or you don't. See, when you know God, there is no more mask, man. I gotta stand up for this one. There's no fucking mask. Stop that bullshit. That's why we gotta come together. Even in small ways like this. I don't like talking like this and all. I'll be like, fuck that, man. Just let me shut the fuck up and go on with my life, man. Fuck all of y'all. Cause all of y'all some fucking idiots. Like that's what I be thinking in my mind sometimes. I'm just keeping it 100. Cause yo, people's not good anymore like they used to be. Everything's all fucked up and distorted. But is that a reason for me to just fall by the wayside and not offer, anything, any type of guidance? Because like I said, you might be the only Bible or Quran or Gita that some people ever read. And when I say Gita, I'm talking about the Bhagavad Gita. It's Hindu. Look it up. Anyway, so I'm here just out of the necessity for anybody who you know needs to hear a message like this, and I may be the only person that you can hear it from right now. You know, so Like I said, man, that mask, we need to stop that shit, man. Be real. Be yourself. Like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught us. You know, how did the Prophet begin, you know, teaching the Moors, you know? He first taught us to be ourselves and to study self. And after you have well studied the self, go back and study it again. Because I mean, everything pretty much comes from self, and the concept of self and the elements that are encompassed within that. For example, we use a computer every day, whether it's the computer in your pocket or the one sitting on your desk, and it has three parts to it. Just like we got, mind, body, and soul or whatever, it has three parts: hardware, software, and electricity. I think about this all the time in different ways. You got the hardware, that would be the physical body. You got the software, all the programming, the instructions and stuff. That would be the soul. And then you got the energy, the electricity. That's the spirit. And, we need all three of those parts in order to have a working whole, in order to get things done in this realm here. So, you know, let's get the knowledge. Let's do the knowledge. Let's get rid of the masks, the lies, all of the nonsense, man, that we've been living for so many years. And we don't realize that we're not even living, man. You've been living a lie this whole time. You've been covering up shit for years, that and the life that you have been living has been a giant distortion and manipulation just to keep some other shit covered from the past. So it's like you haven't even been the real you. You feel what I'm saying? We got to think about that, man. That shit is serious. But I ain't gonna sit here and preach for a long time, man. I'm gonna just say that get rid of the mask, and some of you brothers that really have the knowledge and really have the spirit and the heart for this, some of you might have to learn how to stop having sex, man. For real. Now, I don't know homo shit, no gay shit, none of that. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the real, because you see the need to stop with all the nonsense so that you can focus that energy, between those 18 inches of head and heart, so that you can get where you need to be and assist others as well. Because what's more important, our destiny, our purpose, or you needing to get your shit hard and wet? This is not for children right here. Peace and love. We'll holler at you later.